Right, so let's take a look at how you can connect to SQL Server Express on Google Cloud instance and then get it to HeidiSQL. So let's go and check HeidiSQL and let's download it. So there is portable edition as well, which allows us to connect to any server listed under support. So this portable 64 is what I downloaded. It's not really the coolest application, but it is kind of like being used by some people these days, right? So I'm trying to create this as a support video for these people, right? So here, as you can see, once opened it will look like this, and we will be adding in support for SQL Server TCP IP. I will have to use either SQL OLDB or DB library, either one of that should use. Now coming to your Google Cloud, you will have to access Cloud SQL. So click databases, and here I'll be clicking on SQL instance, where we will be seeing this screen, right? So let's click on create instance to create a new instance of SQL Server. Here you get the option to choose from MySQL, Postgres and SQL Server. We will click on that, and then let's take a look at how it would look. So we have like instance ID and password. So I'm going to give this name DevSQL Server and also the password, and we will pick the database version between the Express, Web, Standard and Enterprise. And once we have that, we will move on. So I picked the 2019 option. The reason I picked 2019 is because there are only two options supported, 17 and 19. So 19 is still the longest LTS going on. In near future this could be 22 and 25, but we don't know when the next LTS will be released. So picking up what's available. So in case of configuration choice, we have production and development. So production is for actual real data for business and enterprise. So I'm not currently doing anything serious, so I will just go with development. So for testing purpose, development is good. Now let's move to region and zone options. Pick the region closest to you, right? So let's say you are in Asia, so you will pick Asia. This green icon option is low CO2 emission, green friendly data center. So I picked the Asian server because it's closer. Not necessarily have to be green friendly, because that's not something every region can support, right? So apart from that, there is zone available option, single and multiple zone, right? So we pick that, and later we move to customize your instance. Then comes machine type, where you can see machine, CPU and RAM to choose from, 2 CPU, 8 GB memory and other combination of them. There is multi-threading support but not available for Express Edition. Then comes storage. So here you see storage, you have SSD and capacity 1020 and so on, right? So in my case I picked 20 GB, so that kind of goes well with our testing goal. Then enable the automatic storage increase and then move to encryption. So encryption by default Google Managed Key is selected. Next is connection. So here we have like private and public IP options, and so I pick the add network option, then give it all keyword and then move to 0000/0. Click done and you will have your list of IPs. Now after that we will move to authentication, where you can see Active Directory domain for authentication is selected, but that's not available, so we'll move back to our password and username. So username here is SQL Server and password whatever you choose, right? So Google Cloud gives you that much flexibility. Move to the data protection, where you can choose the automated backups on certain time of the day. You can also pick the data center and retention for them, right? There is also point in time recovery and deletion protection. So deletion protection is needed when your server is running. It won't be accidentally killed and deleted. So make sure to enable that. And if you don't enable that, then that means if you're doing this for testing, you can disable that. There is also maintenance option. You can pick the maintenance window, right? And also choose the order of update, any later, earlier, right? You choose between the maintenance period. You can also deny that. So like weekly, Monday to Friday, don't go for maintenance, only go on Saturday, etc. You choose that. Then flag and parameters. So I'm going with the default for my data center. UTC is the time zone, and SQL Latin CP1 CI is collation. Finally, the label. As you can see, label is used for sorting of resources. So I'm going to skip this one. I don't want to do this for test, but you should if you are DBA. Then finally click on create instance, right? So once you create that, it will create an instance that should look like the one I created here. We will be accessing that, right? So here, let's take a look at what we have. We have this IP address, so we will copy that, right? And then let's move to connections, where you can see that we allowed all the IP ranges. Then in security, you can enable SSL and also download the certificate so that it will be accessible. Next thing is, once we have our IP address, we will have everything we need to connect to HeidiSQL, right? Select the type of network, SQL Server, then IP, then user is SQL Server, then password. Okay, so we will be taking public IP address, then we will open HeidiSQL again, right? So once it opens, we can select SQL Server TCP IP and then paste our IP address. You can pick the either one of the libraries, then choose the password. For this, let me paste the password, and now we can click open. Here we can ignore the modifications, so let me kill the tabs, close tab. So let's close that. Then we have our current database. It will show me the size, and if I open the database, it will show me two tables. I can also run queries on them, so I will select that, then select all from, and then here we use dbu.product catalog, then semicolon, and click run. It should show you two rows and multiple columns for your output, so that pretty much shows up everything, right? Then we use dbu.people and we use semicolon. Let's see what that table contains. So it has like 10 rows of data and shows pretty much cool interface for table as well, like number in blue and string in green. So that looks good, and pretty much it lets you access your SQL Server Express from Google Cloud's instance, and you can even do the modification like create new database, right? If you have database, then you can right click, create new table, view, stored procedure, and so on. All the things that you can do with any other DBA tool, you can do with this one as well. So we pretty much managed to get the idea of how to do that with HeidiSQL, right? So if you are trying to work with HeidiSQL and SQL Server on cloud, you can use it. It's pretty poor UI if you ask me. SQL Server, Management Studio, and Azure Data Studio are much better option if use of the interface is something that you need.